Hey guys, I got Joby Weeks here. He's been in 241 cities in the last 12 months, traveling the world on Bitcoin. All right, I didn't even know what Bitcoin was before I met this guy. It was insane. He's actually been able to travel to 121 countries with his bride. Joby, you know, he was a pharmacist, turned straight here, coming from basically the streets out in Colorado. And he's got an incredible story here. So Joby, could you take us back to when you originally started your entrepreneurial career?
Well, nice to see you, Daryl. Yeah, back in the day in high school, I tried to make money on the side, doing anything I could because my parents weren't loaded. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was a Christian school teacher. And so we didn't have too much money. So I'd shovel driveways, get the snow off during the winter and mow lawns during the summer. And then I figured how amazing marijuana was at the time. And I used to sell pot, in high school and stuff to try to make some extra money. So yes, I was a complete
pharmacist.
Yeah. But moved up. I read some books. I learned that, profits are better than wages. And so I started to focus on things that would create passive residual income so that I wouldn't have to, work for money. I know one of the quotes that is passed around a lot is Carnegie said that he'd rather have 1% of the efforts of 100 different people than 100% of his own efforts. And so instead of working for money, trying to figure out how to have money work for me was always the goal.
Mm-hmm. And for those listeners, Andrew Carnegie, who you're talking about, in this day and age would be more wealthy than Bill Gates. I mean, that's how much money Andrew Carnegie basically had. So the guy had some brains, and he had some dodo or some ducat to go along with it. Now, Joby, I know at the time you went to high school, you were on your way to college, and there was, there was a turning point in your life where something actually happened. Can you describe what that was so people get an understanding of like how you went from, hey, I'm going to go to college. Now all of a sudden I'm just going to change my life in that different direction.
Well, I got accepted to school, but, I was just going up to college to party, and I was, partying a lot every weekend. My friends weren't, I just looked at it kind of like if I'm going to go to college and spend all this money, I'd have to get loans and stuff because I didn't get any scholarships. I was going to graduate 4 years later in debt, qualified to go out and get a job and work for someone else and make someone else rich. And I didn't really like the job I had to begin with. I was, working at Macaroni Grill and in a restaurant called Old Chicago. I was kind of bouncing. I'm ADD, so I would get bored really quick and went jump from job to job. And I just couldn't imagine, and I didn't like school. So what happened was there was a party going on in the mountains for the 4th of July, and I basically crashed one of the cars, almost died, and killed one of my buddies, and kind of had a come to Jesus moment, if you will, and decided I just was going to take the year off and defer college and get my life sorted and try to make some new friends and dabble in being an entrepreneur. And so, sorry about the airplanes flying overhead. I'm actually out here in the Maldives. First time here. Got a little jungle right on the water, so I figured this could be a good spot to do a little interview. But yeah, there's airplanes that fly over with the pontoons. You can land, on the water and stuff. Anyway, so after the car accident, I decided I was going to look into, financial, put a bunch of knowledge in my mind that wasn't going to cost me an arm and a leg. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki's book, and learned about, cash flow quadrant, business owners, investors, employees, self-employed people. And, I decided I wanted to be a business owner and an investor, but most businesses cost so much money to start. I didn't have a lot of money as a kid right out of high school. And so I looked into network marketing to begin my career. And that worked great because it only cost $100 to get started in the business. And the business I chose to join was a nutraceutical research and development company called Manatech. And I decided that I wanted to help people stay healthy so they didn't need to take drugs, pharmaceuticals and all that stuff. Because, you don't have cancer because you're chemotherapy deficient, or your diabetes or lupus or MS or all these various health problems that Americans are dealing with. I just wanted to help people get healthy. And so that's where I started my career. Yeah, selling wellness products. So going from selling pot and stuff to, although I think cannabis is actually a wellness product, and now that's finally legal.
Yeah.
And dispensaries are and doctors
Every
are
corner there in Colorado
and all that stuff. Yeah, it's legal in Colorado now, and so I not just the go get high aspect of it, but the actual medicine part of it is pretty exciting actually if you think about it. So
yeah, so you've been ahead of your time your whole life. You just didn't realize it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So, but that's what basically happened with Bitcoin is like, I'm learning about this, and our big problem was, so we set up offices in Tokyo and Sydney and London and Korea and Taiwan and Hong Kong and South Africa. And so it took us all around the world, sharing these discoveries. We basically created a powder that had all the vitamins and minerals and antioxidants and glyconutrients and phytosterols, all the digestive enzymes and probiotics and your essential oils and fatty acids, all that stuff basically needed to make sure your cells are healthy, because when the cells are healthy, then your tissues are healthy, then the organs are healthy, then your systems are healthy, then you have a healthy body. So all disease and wellness is a cellular event. So we set up all these offices and sold lots of products, and the internet was just coming out. So we created a system online so that we could move product and money around, but it was really expensive to move money around. And people, a lot of countries, they don't have bank accounts. There's like 5 billion people out there that don't have bank accounts. They don't have credit cards. 2 billion people don't even have birth certificates or IDs. They can't even prove that they exist. And so, trying to pay people in all these countries, and these guys are paying in euros, and these guys are paying in yens and pounds and dollars, and I'm supposed to be paying out commissions to this guy over here in euros, even though he paid in pounds, and this guy over here is paid in dollars, and we're shipping. It's like, it was really expensive to figure this out, and the bank fees and the price of dollars fluctuating versus all the other currencies, and oh my gosh, it was really complicated. And that's what really excited me when I heard about Bitcoin was, wait, we can move all this money around instantaneously with no fees. We don't have to have these trusted third parties standing in the middle collect. You try to move money around with Western Union, they take 10% off the top, or MoneyGram, or even sending a wire. It takes 3 days to get to you, and there's a $45 fee. You write checks, it still has to be cleared from the bank. The Visa, the MasterCard, they charge their 3% rake off the top. With Bitcoin, it's like the first time we can send money to each other peer-to-peer instantaneously, cut out the middlemen, and a great thing about it is there's no chargebacks. And so that's why a lot of the big companies now are coming on board, because they don't have the liability. Like, you take all this money in with a credit card and you ship out all the product and you get the charge back. The merchant's left holding the bag, So a lot of merchants like the fact that you can't charge back with Bitcoin. It's a pull system rather than a push system, or Bitcoin's a push system, not a pull system. So, and that's why $1,000 invested in Bitcoin back in 2009 is worth $10 million today. $1,000, if you would have gone back and invested $1,000 in 2009, you'd be sitting on $10 million right now. That's how valuable Bitcoin has become. And so that's basically what I saw, and I decided to invest.
So, Joby, from the story that I got from you, I remember was that you had a buddy of yours that was hounding you about this and was sharing the experience. And when you first got started with it, and you didn't understand it.
No, I didn't understand. I wish you would have explained it better, because I would have bought more than I only bought $200 worth. My only regret really is like, if he would have. So yeah, he kept on her. You got to look at Bitcoin. You got to look at Bitcoin. And I was like, already like, I didn't understand. I'm like, what is digital? It's not backed by gold or silver. It's not controlled by any bank or any government. What gives it value? I didn't understand. And so finally, after him bugging me for a while, I finally gave him $200 and got. I think what you told me was you just gave him $200 to make him go away. I think it's what you told me. Yeah, basically, I was like, they left me alone. So now what do I do with this Bitcoin? I got 250 Bitcoin. What do I do? And so it just sat in my wallet. I didn't think about it. And like a year later, I went through my Facebook wall, and dude, I see this video on Bitcoin. I watch it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a great invention. And I was kind of mad that my friend didn't explain it as well as. I guess no one really knew what it was when it came out. But anyways, I watched the video. I logged into my wallet, and my $200 was worth $40,000. I was like, holy cow, what is Bitcoin? Like, couldn't couldn't understand. Went from $1
So
to
hold the phone real quick. Hold the phone. So you put $200 in just for purposes, and all of a sudden you went in 12 months. Bitcoin. You got 250 Bitcoin, and then you went in your virtual wallet online, right?
Yeah.
And you looked at it, and there's 40,000 American dollars you could actually spend. So you put in $200 at the time. 12 months later, the money had done something that it got more valuable, and now it's actually $40,000. And you could, how could you use that money? Like, how do you get access to it? Where does it exist?
Well, it's Bitcoin, so it was just in my Bitcoin wallet. But 250 Bitcoin today is worth 250 grand, bro. Bitcoin's 1,050 right now, $1,000.
I get it, but like, think about you want to explain to somebody who's never heard of Bitcoin before. Where's their wallet? It's like in their wallet in their pocket. Like, where's this wallet at? Where did you go to get your money?
You can have the wallet on your cell phone, or you can have it on your laptop computer. It's just it's where you hold Bitcoin. It's your Bitcoin wallet address. In fact, I got a wallet on my necklace right now. So see that? It says Bitcoin on the back side. It's a little QR code. I don't know if you can see that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but I can see that QR code.
Dude, so people can scan that and pay me right to my necklace. Awesome. So yeah,
that's why they call him the Bitcoin man.
That's my wallet. So yeah, and so I just sat all day long watching videos on Bitcoin because I was like, what is this? Why is it so valuable? And I came out thinking, dude, this is like one of the greatest inventions in the history of mankind. I mean, for the first time ever, we can now transact peer-to-peer all over the world. All these third world people that have been blocked from the banks can now conduct business with first world countries without having the currency controls. All this money that's locked up in Venezuela and South Africa and China. If you're a millionaire in China, you can't send more than $50,000 a year out of China. It's your own money, and they won't let you take it. But with Bitcoin, we can move money out of China all over the place now. And so it's a great solution for a lot of people that want to have more freedom. And what another cool thing about Bitcoin and the technology behind Bitcoin, it's called the blockchain. You can actually take Bitcoin, and because it's digital, and you can break it into 100 million bits. And each little bit is programmable. So you can program a bit to represent anything of value. So they're calling it the Internet of Things, right? So we've got the Internet, and that revolutionized how we get information. No one writes letters anymore. We all send emails. Can move around YouTube videos really quick, so you don't have to send people DVDs in the mail anymore, stuff like this. Well, we never figured out how we could actually do that with something of value until the blockchain was created, the technology behind Bitcoin. And so you can take anything of value, barrel of oil, a shipping container, a vote in an election, your medical records, title to real estate, and we can tokenize that, say it's a title to real estate, and then transact and digitally move it around on this distributed ledger, the blockchain. And now, what used to take a month to buy and sell real estate, closing costs and title insurance, all this stuff. Now I can send you title property instantly, or diamonds or gold or sneakers or whatever you can think of. We can digitize, tokenize, put up on the blockchain and transact around the world. So that's another reason why Bitcoin is so valuable, is because of the blockchain and the ability to transact business. There's trillions and trillions of dollars of value, locked up that, banks and stuff around the world can't monetize. You can go to Peru or Bali or something, like, I want to buy that property over there. And the guy's like, well, I own this field to this tree to this fence, and this is my field. But like, he doesn't have a title to that. You went to Haiti and they had that earthquake. All their records were wiped out. It was all on paper. They don't know who owns what property, who was paying taxes or anything. It was all on one record. It was all on one building. The whole building collapsed, and they lost everything. It wasn't backed up anywhere. With the blockchain, it's backed up everywhere. So when I make a transaction, I send you a Bitcoin. That transaction is broadcasted to all the nodes in the networks and then updated everywhere. So it can never be reversed. I look at it kind of like, if I send you a Bitcoin, it's kind of like how a caterpillar can turn into a butterfly, or a toad, or a salamander will turn into a toad or a frog. Like, it can only go one way. It can't go from a butterfly back into a, you know what I'm saying? caterpillar. So
you can't take a butterfly and turn it into a caterpillar. Got it.
It only goes one way. Same with Bitcoin. I do a Bitcoin transaction.
Only one way.
It's updated everywhere. And so that's why now we don't have to have these trusted third parties. And if you think about how big this is, you know, the banking cartel moves $8 trillion a day back and forth around the world. I mean, oil cartel only does $1 trillion a year. Pharmaceuticals do $1 trillion a year. These banks do $8 trillion a day. And now with Bitcoin, we don't need to do that anymore. We can just move Bitcoin around instantaneously. For the time it takes you to send a wire from Hong Kong to California, I can do 10,000 Bitcoin transactions in that same amount of time. So the velocity of money is speeding up, and it costs me 10 cents to send $10, $100, $1 million. If I wanted to send $1 billion, I could do it for 10 cents. You know, try to do that with a bank. You know, so you go to these countries, you know, that have like Bali. I was just in Bali last week, and you know, Indonesia doesn't have like a very simple way of conducting, you know, real estate transactions. And now all of a sudden we can verify that the person exists on the blockchain. We can give them a Bitcoin wallet. We can put all this real estate up onto the blockchain so you can conduct business. Now banks will loan against that property and release trillions of dollars that have been locked up because there's been why would a power company build a grid and electrical lines to a property if they don't know who owns the property, who's going to pay the power bill when they put power in there? So everybody's like stuck, and this frees everybody to be able to now have prosperity.
Let's slow it down and break it down Barney style, like Barney Rubble here, right? So the bottom line is like there's a wallet, and this wallet is like I know that you have like an ATM type card or a debit card where you can use it just like an American Express card, walk down and swipe that card and buy whatever it is you want with your Bitcoin too, right?
Yeah. So you can get a Bitcoin Visa card. So instead of your Visa card being backed by euros or yens or pounds or dollars, it's actually backed by Bitcoin. And then you can just go spend that Bitcoin wherever Visa is accepted. There's 3 things you want to remember about it though. There's Bitcoin mining, which is kind of like gold mining. You got to go and get picks and shovels and plow through a bunch of dirt to find gold. Well, same with Bitcoin mining. We have computers that basically process all the Bitcoin transactions and secure the blockchain. And so that's mining Bitcoin. You get Bitcoin at its source. And then there's Bitcoin exchanges, which kind of like are a bank. You know, when you find your gold, you can put it in a vault at the bank. And same with Bitcoin. You get your Bitcoin from mining. You can bring it to an exchange like Coinbase or Zappo or coins.ph. There's a lot of various exchanges, Kraken, Bittrex, and you put your Bitcoin in exchange, and that's where you can turn it into euros or yens or pounds or dollars through the exchange with your Bitcoin. And if you're not going to exchange it, you can take it off the exchange and put it in your wallet, your Bitcoin wallet, which is kind of like putting cash in your pocket in your wallet. So there's mining Bitcoin, getting it at source, the exchange which operates kind of like a bank, where you can move your Bitcoin in and out of various fiat currencies, and then store your Bitcoin in your wallet, or we call it cold storage, which you can actually take a little zip drive, put your Bitcoin on the zip drive, and then just put it in your safe, and voila, you don't have to worry about it getting stolen.
Let's go back to the original conversation. So you had said you didn't want to be a slave wave. You mentioned to me before you had read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then the concept of actually buying something that could actually make you money while you were working or not working is what you've actually found here with Bitcoin, correct?
Yeah, well, the whole philosophy about Rich Dad Poor Dad was like, let's say you have $50,000, you can either buy a Mercedes-Benz and voila, you have the car, or you could take the 50 grand, buy an asset that generates cash flow to pay the monthly car payment. 3 years later, the car is paid for. Boom, you still have the asset generating cash flow to buy you jet skis or a motorboat or whatever. So my thought is, instead of taking $1,000 or whatever, buying 10 Bitcoin, because 5 years later you're still only going to have 10 Bitcoin. My thought was, instead of just taking and buying Bitcoin, take it and instead buy Bitcoin mining hardware, which then generates an endless supply of Bitcoin. So if you think about how mining works compared to like a Visa data center, American Express or MasterCard or whatever, Visa will have this big data center. They track billions of dollars in transactions around the world. millions of people use Visa, and every time that card swipes, Visa gets a 3% rake off the top. So Visa's making $100 million a day or whatever. So we're copying that, but with Bitcoin. So we have our own data center, and we've got our servers and stuff, and it tracks all the Bitcoin transactions around the world and secures the blockchain. And for doing so, our data center generates us money. And then what we do is we disperse that Bitcoin in a daily dividend paid out to our investors who buy shares in our mining pool. So basically the idea is buy Bitcoin mining hardware that generates endless supply of Bitcoin, which then we pay out daily dividends to our investors who bought some shares. So that's kind of how I'm now making money with Bitcoin, rather than just like, here, let me give you some Bitcoin. Look how easy this is. Let me give you some Bitcoin. I went for like a year or two just giving away Bitcoin just because I thought it was amazing, but I never really had figured out a way to actually make money promoting Bitcoin until I got into mining and figuring out how Bitcoin is created and to figure out how to get it from its source. So that's what we're doing.
Let's call it timeout here. All right, I'm calling it timeout. And so you went, just to break this down, you took $200, you gave it to your buddy, just shut him up. And then all of a sudden, 12 months later, you're scrolling around Facebook, you're scrolling around, and you're like, holy shit, this stuff really works. Then you took $40,000 now, which you had a Bitcoin, which is $40,000 American you could actually spend at this point, right? Am I getting it right?
Right.
And then you turn around and
Bitcoin was still.
you have no idea how it got there. I mean, you're just glad it was legal. And you took the wallet, and you can actually use that money if you want to. Then you started giving it away just because it was kind of cool and it was kind of fun. And all of a sudden you found this mining equipment, right? Which is basically, it's like you're giving money to Bitcoin so they can actually do their job faster. And when you give them money, then they give you a daily dividend for owning mining equipment, which a mining equipment, it's kind of like an ATM machine that prints money every day, whether you're working or not working. Does that sound about accurate?
Kinda. No, I didn't understand what mining was, but I wanted to know how Bitcoin sprung into existence and why it's so valuable. And so I looked into it. I started watching all these videos, and what happens is, think about it like, you know how Napster, remember Napster? We could download music and movies and everything off of Napster.
Yeah.
And
sure.
After a while, though, the government came in and shut it down because there was like a centralized server where everything was on these servers, and then the government came in and took the servers, no more Napster. So then someone developed a software called the BitTorrent software. And if you run this software, you can file share with people. We've heard about BT Junkie and Views and Pirate Bay and Kim.com with his mega upload and all this stuff. And if you're running this software, you can trade files. So millions and millions of computers around the world now run this BitTorrent software, and they share music and movies and everything. And today, now, you can go and download anything you want over the internet over this BitTorrent software, because there's no centralized server that holds everything, so the government can't shut it down, right? So the currency that runs on top of this BitTorrent software is Bitcoin. And what it is you got millions of computers around the world that are all running this software, and to incentivize them to donate their computer processing power to help secure the network, to monetize their bandwidth, if you will, since they're paying for the internet anyways, why not make some money, with your laptop computer? Right before you go to bed, you press a button, your computer works all night long to help secure the Bitcoin network. You wake up the next morning and you got money on your computer. You're paying for the internet bandwidth anyways. Why not, when you're not using your computer, have your computer work all night to run the software to help secure the blockchain, the Bitcoin network? So that's the genius behind the software behind Bitcoin, is because it's like a game of roulette, if you will. Every 10 minutes when it started, 50 Bitcoin was given away for free to one of the computers in the network. Every 10 minutes, 50 Bitcoin. That was the incentive. So now all these computers get in. If you think about like a roulette wheel, you've got all the spaces, and say a laptop computer is space number 1. So the ball spins every 10 minutes. If it lands on your square, boom, you get the 50 Bitcoin. And so every 10 minutes that ball spins, right? Well, a data center is like more than a laptop. Let's say our data center is covering squares 1 to 15. So when the ball spins, we have a greater chance of it hitting. If it's a 2, we win. If it's a 5, we win. If it's 12, we win, because we're covering the spread, just like in roulette. If you bet 1 to 15, you're going to win more than just betting on one spot. Your odds go up. And so that's the difference between donating a laptop computer versus donating a data center full of computer processing power to go in and secure the blockchain. And so that basically for every 10 minutes, the incentive was 50 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. They did that for 4 years and then programmed into the software is called the halving year, where the reward is cut in half. So then it was 25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes that was given away. And then after 4 years of that, it was another halving year. So that was cut in half. That was last July. And so now it's 12.5 Bitcoin every 10 minutes is given away, which right now is worth about $2 million a day. About $2 million a day is up for grabs right now. That's being entered in Bitcoin into the economy. Every 10 minutes, 12.5 Bitcoin hit one of the computers in the network, just like how roulette works. So in 4 years from now, it will be 6 Bitcoin. Then after 4 years after that, there will be 3 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. So it's like a deflationary currency. The supply goes down while demand goes up, which is why the price of Bitcoin, why the value of Bitcoin continues to go. There's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin. You can't just print Bitcoin, kind of like what the Federal Reserve does, or the Bank of England, or IMF, the World Bank, those guys. They just print, and that makes all of our money worth less and less and less and less and less. You know, inflation is theft. So it's so much smarter, instead of taking 10 grand cash and putting it in your bank account, and 5 years later you still have 10 grand cash, but it will only buy you $8,000 worth of stuff now because of inflation. Instead, it's much better.
Hold up a second. So you're saying that my money's deflating in my bank account here in the United States because it's in my bank account? I don't understand, Joby.
It's inflating. Like, think about it like this. The year is 1950, let's say. You're driving along Southern California, Laguna Beach. You're looking at these beautiful houses overlooking the ocean. It's perfect, right? You want to buy a house. They're $50,000 a home, right? So what do? You're driving home to your house to get to your mattress where you got your 50 grand stuffed in your mattress, right? And on your way home, you get a car accident. Boom. You're knocked out. You're in a coma. The last thing you were thinking about was buying this house in the cliffs in Laguna Beach. For 50 years, you're unconscious in a coma having this dream about the house. Okay, the year's 2000. You snap out of it. You wake up. All you've been thinking about is this house. So you're like, you get out of the hospital, first thing you want to do, go buy the house. You drive back to your house, you grab your 50 grand, you go over to the house. The house is not at 50 grand anymore. It's $3 million now. What happened? You got robbed. What 50 grand could buy now can't, because the government, the banks print all this money, push it into circulation, into the economy, and that makes all of our money worth less and less and less and less. Inflation is theft. Inflation is a tax. We're all being robbed if we're using dollars. It's stupid to save dollars because every day your dollar is worth less and less and less. So what we're doing is so much smarter than what we've been told to do. Oh, save your money and work hard and all this stuff. No, the idea is create passive residual income businesses and stop using their money because it keeps losing value every day. I can hold my savings in Bitcoin, or I can buy Bitcoin mining hardware and just get paid daily dividends in Bitcoin, residual income coming to me in Bitcoin, and the value of Bitcoin keeps going up and up and up. They're projecting a $10,000 Bitcoin within the next 3 years. All these billionaires are getting into it. They're building tons of apps and platforms to ride on top of the blockchain. So you think about like why Microsoft is so rich, right? Microsoft has the operating system of the computer, and then millions and millions of other software companies API in and build into the Microsoft platform, right? Now Bill Gates, those guys, they're billionaires. So we've got the blockchain here, which is like Microsoft, and you've got all these venture capitalists financing in hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars to build apps to API and plug into the blockchain, whether it's transferring title of ownership to barrels of oil or shipping containers or real estate properties or votes or medical records or whatever you can think. Everything's being plugged into the blockchain. Who underwrites the blockchain? We do. The miners do. Imagine if we get paid $1 every time a piece of real estate sells over the blockchain, or anytime a barrel moves from country to country or a shipping container or from port to port. And we get paid on every transaction that takes place on planet Earth that happens over the blockchain. How wealthy are we going to be? That's why I'm a miner, so I get a piece of every transaction that takes place on top of the blockchain, not just all the Bitcoin transactions. The new Bitcoin is nice, but I mean, Visa only gets paid when Visa does a transaction. They don't get paid when a piece of real estate is sold or a shipping container moves or when an American Express card is charged. Visa only makes money when Visa does a transaction. Here we are Bitcoin miners. We get a piece of anything that takes place, the real estate transactions, the diamonds, the gold, whatever is moving around on the blockchain. We get a piece of all the transactions. I think it's the smartest thing in the world. So that's why I'm putting so much money and time and effort into growing our data center. We're basically crowdfunding our mine, and we're selling shares in the pool. So whatever the mine generates each day is dispersed to the shareholders who help me crowdfund our data center.
So Joby, I just want to make sure I understand this. So now at this point is I've got my wallet, I'm accessing money. Now I buy in a mine, basically. I buy my equipment, right? But it's not like I have to have it at my house or something like that. It's you give the money to the Bitcoin people, right?
To us.
And at that point,
so when you buy a share, you're buying physical Bitcoin mining hardware. But instead of you taking delivery of that hardware and trying to figure out how to mine in your basement, we ship that hardware off to Iceland to our data center, because up there we're only having to pay 6 cents per kilowatt hour for electricity. And it's cold in Iceland, so you don't have to run air conditioning units to it's Iceland, it's cold already, right? So the electricity in California, it's like 40 cents a kilowatt hour. If you're trying to mine in California, all your profits are going to be lost to the electric company. So we've gone all over the world trying to find the cheapest places to put all of our equipment. And then, you buy your share, the equipment gets shipped to Iceland. We plug it into all the other equipment we've got, creating this supercomputer. Right now, if you think about speed, take a picture, it's 1 megabyte. When you got 1,000 megabytes, it's a gigabyte. 1,000 gigabytes is a terabyte. 1,000 terabytes is a petabyte, right? It's the same in computer processing speed as well. So a laptop computer would be like 1 gigabyte, 1 gigahash, they call them, or hertz, gigahertz, whatever. So 1,000 gigahertz or gigahash would be a terahash. That's like 1,000 laptop computers is a terahash. 1,000 terahash is a petahash. That's like 1,000,000 laptop computers, right? 1,000 times 1,000 is 1,000,000. So 1 petahash is 1,000,000 laptop computers in terms of computer processing speed. Imagine what 1,000,000 laptop computers looks like. Now, our data center has 100 petahash. That's the equivalent of 100 million laptop computers going right now. So that's what we're doing, is we're crowdfunding this data center, making it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, capturing more and more of that $2 million a day in Bitcoin up for grabs. And that's how I'm able to just travel around the world now, because I can share this opportunity with people in all the countries of the world. We've got about 50,000 people that are involved in 80 countries now that we pay every single day in Bitcoin, all over, people that we could never get money to before with the banking system. You know how hard it would be to pay people in 80 different countries every single day? But we can do it now with Bitcoin. So it's really cool.
That's freaking amazing.
It is. It's amazing.
And that's how my man sits in the Maldives with his beautiful wife, just hanging out, enjoying, surfing and freaking traveling and scuba diving to the coolest places in the world. That's how he does it. The Bitcoin man.
Yeah, man. So we'll, after this interview is done, we'll give you a link that you can send people to. They can look into it and do some research. We've got some videos that explain how Bitcoin works, what is Bitcoin mining, how our club, Bit Club, operates. And it's such a smart thing. We sell shares for $500 a share. You can buy as many or as little shares as you'd like. Yeah, dip your foot in the water. I know you picked up a couple of shares after our time in Cuba together, and it's paying out daily dividends. And as the price of Bitcoin goes up, you can cash out. You can cash out your Bitcoin anytime you want. In fact, this is something that's cool, is we have a way of actually having your daily dividend be compounded. So let's say someone were to buy 2 shares for $1,000, right? Now let's say that 2 shares generates you, let's say, $4 a day. So $2 a day per share. Now it's kind of hard to say in dollar amounts because the price of Bitcoin changes every second of the day. So let's just, figuratively speaking, let's say each share is generating $2 a day. So if $1,000 make you $4 a day. So in the back office, you can program it to do like a 50-50 split or a 60-40 split or a 70-30 split, meaning let's say if you're making $4 a day and you have it set on a 50-50 split, it means you're pulling out $2 a day every day and you're reinvesting the other $2 back into buying yourself a third share every day. So 250 days later times $2, that's $500. That buys you a third share. So those 3 shares work together to buy you a 4th share. Those 4 shares work together to buy you a 5th share. So it's compounding. Meanwhile, you're still pulling out your $2 a day, so you get your initial investment back, and you're basically playing with the house's money. That's kind of like what I'm telling people to do is like, hey, get some shares, let them compound. You'll be glad you did because, as the value of Bitcoin goes up, you can still pull out your initial investment and just start having passive residual income coming in every day. And
but Joby, I've been doing this thing called the stock market. There's this guy. I see him. He's called my broker because he's fucking broke.
He makes you broker,
but for guys that are out there, they're doing that. Explain to them the difference between, here it is. I'm paying my money into buy my next, my next order of Enron, right? Because that's going up, right? And I'm buying into all these great companies that are out there, and I'm looking at my retirement. And here I am, I've invested into this 401k program for 20, 30 years. I was like, I've got my 401k, it's going to take care of me. But what I'm seeing, because I've seen a lot of people coming from, background of helping a lot of seniors actually go to retire. And as they go to do that, they don't have enough money in there to do it because that unquote, thing of inflation with their dollars deflating, so they can't, it's not worth as much. They've worked their hard effort and energy. Like, how is this different? Yeah. How is this going to help that person?
Well, I mean, you're the old paradigm is the government's going to take care of you and pay into Social Security, which is the biggest Ponzi scam I've ever seen in the entire history of the world, where you're putting all this money in, you get nothing in return, hoping that the next generation is going to cover you because you're covering the generation before you. It's a scam, dude. So they're in for a shocker once they realize the value of the currency's down, the Social Security isn't there, the taxes that were taken out of everything. It's hard to get ahead going the traditional route. You gotta figure out ways of creating passive residual income and putting your money to work and having a currency that holds its value, so it doesn't lose value when the government decides they're going to just print to finance their welfare warfare state. So for me, I went into this because I can help other people. I can help my friends try to get wealthy and get free so they can travel with me. I mean, I love teaching people how to become entrepreneurs, and I love seeing my friends post pictures of themselves flying around in private jets and all that stuff because I brought them in and showed them how this works, and all these kind of life hacks that we've come across the last couple of years. This being an incredible life hack. It just gets you. It's like you ever play that game Candyland or Chutes and Ladders or whatever, where you're in this spot, but if you hit and you have a ladder, you go straight up instead of having to go all around the board and stuff. Just boom, elevator right to the top, And it's like you skip so many years of just running the rat race and stuff, which I just never was wanting to do that anyways. So, yeah, man, for those types of people, I would highly recommend diversifying their investments. You can go to bitcoinira.com and you can actually convert your IRA into Bitcoin. Take that Bitcoin, invest it into BitClub. Hold a little Bitcoin, hold a little BitClub. Maybe buy some Ethereum, and that's another cryptocurrency that some developers are building a lot of platforms out on right now, and so on and so forth. So we're keeping our eyes out for opportunities. We just launched something called CoinPay, which allows our members to go and sign up businesses like hotels and grocery stores and gas stations and restaurants, etc., to become merchants to accept Bitcoin for their goods and services. And if you go and sign up that business or that hotel to become one of your merchants, you're going to get a 1% override on all the transactions that business does, which means... Hold the phone there.
So I sign up a hotel who does like, I don't know, $1 million a year worth of transactions, right? And they do $1 million of years through Bitcoin.
That makes 10 grand.
That makes me how much?
1%.
10 grand.
1% of a million's $10,000. So yeah, you just,
not bad.
that's residual income. You get a couple businesses like that, you know, you're making overrides. Plus, we also give you CoinPay shares in the company, because the idea is once we have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of merchants that are accepting Bitcoin, you know, the more people that use Bitcoin, the more businesses that take Bitcoin, the more valuable Bitcoin becomes. And so if they're doing it through our platform, through CoinPay, and we gave you shares of stock in CoinPay, and then we decide to go public, or we get bought out by Visa or something like that for $5 billion. Now our stock is worth so much, and we just sell our stock and I'll make tons of money. So there's lots of ways of profiting in the Bitcoin space, in the Bitcoin economy. And that's why with Bit Club, you know, we're really hooking our members up and teaching them the ropes of how we can all become free so that we can travel around the world to beautiful places like the Maldives and Bali and elsewhere, you know?
Yeah, but here's the thing: is like, how is this not just a scam out there? You know, I mean, there's so many scams out there, Joby. Tell me the back of my mind how, you know, I'm thinking this is too good to be true. You know, and just, you know, what for that guy out there who's being a skeptic, what the hell do you say to him?
I think it's too good to miss. So, too good to be true, too good to miss. I don't know. I mean, it's public knowledge. You just Google Bitcoin, you can see the charts as it's gone from a penny of Bitcoin to a dime to $1 to $10. Now it's $1,000 a Bitcoin. I mean, that's undeniable. You can turn Bitcoin into any currency anywhere. You can see the millions of merchants that accept Bitcoin. Places like Starbucks, you can buy $25 gift cards at Starbucks for $20 if you pay with Bitcoin. That's a 20% savings if you're using Bitcoin. Amazon, you can go to
Starbucks is using it.
You can go to Amazon and buy anything on Amazon for 10 to 15% off through purse.io. You can go to Gift, GYFT,
Wow.
buy gift cards for every merchant you can think of, Best Buy and Outback Steakhouse and all this. You can buy all these gift cards, pay with Bitcoin. You know, so it's already there. It's happening. And so all we're doing right now is by being the miners and securing the blockchain, we get a piece of all the Bitcoin transactions that take place all over the world and anything else that happens on top of the blockchain. So in the future, when all the real estate transactions are taking place around the world, and we're getting a piece of all the real estate transactions and the barrels of oil and the shipping containers and everything else you can think of, we're just going to be incredibly wealthy. And so now your members and listeners have a chance to take action. It's not knowledge that's power, though. It's in the application of the knowledge that brings power. And so I really encourage you guys.
Golden nugget, guys. Take action now. When do you take action? Right now. You've been
procrastinating since 2009. It's been around since 2009. It's 2017 now. Come on. You've waited like 8 years to get involved. It's time to get involved. Get off the couch. Yeah. Let's do this thing. It doesn't cost a lot to get started. And we'll hold your hand, through the whole process, and we'll all make money together.
Oh, man. Thanks to Joby for coming out and sharing this. We're going to have all the information, guys, for you right here in the show notes for getting you guys on board if that's something you're interested in doing. And if you want to wait till 2000 whatever and miss the boat, then that's totally up to you. If Starbucks is on board, if Amazon's on board, and all these other companies that are out there, you better get on board, because otherwise you'll just be like left like Gary Vaynerchuk saying how he missed out on investing in an Uber. You know, I'm not going to be that guy. So I'm on board. Let's do this. All right, Joby, thanks a lot. I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, Daryl. Take care, bro. Aloha.